world. We had biscuits today that Hoppy brought in, and they were absolutely fantastic. And it just does confirm what we've been talking about. And was that Mountaineer. That was the Mountaineer, correct?
That was a Mountaineer.
Yeah, that was the
world
one,
champion Mountaineer.
That was the one that won the Garden and Gun Magazine's March Madness biscuit bracket, competing against 32 other brands.
It's a big biscuit.
It's a big biscuit. It was named the South's best biscuit. Try it out. The Tudor's Mountaineer, country ham, egg, cheese, crispy hash brown. Best biscuit. Check it out at Tudor's Biscuit World.
By the way, you guys have talked a big game about eating two, and after you each had one today, the over-under on this of you eating two, let's see.
I'd struggle.
I would say you can't do. I would go one. I'll put the number 1.5.
I could eat the two. I wouldn't feel well.
You?
I wouldn't feel well. I'd be too full afterwards. Yeah.
But it's a champion biscuit.
Wonderful. This was really fluffy. Nice today.
Buttermilk biscuit.
It was excellent.
Hey, keep in mind, Tudor's is also expanding. If you're a passionate entrepreneur, if you're just a dud entrepreneur, they don't want you. But if you're a passionate entrepreneur, you can join their family. Over 40 years and 74 locations. You could have one of those bad boys right there. That's right. Run your own Tudor's Biscuit World. Fast, casual restaurant chain, made from scratch biscuit, buttermilk biscuits, and homemade breakfast items. Thousands of daily customers across 4 states. Visit the folks at Tudor's Biscuit World. Get information on their website.
I was at the one in Saberton.
Oh, is that where you went? Okay.
I guess that's the only one in town, though, right?
No. Suncrest.
I'm sorry, Suncrest.
That's where you went?
Saberton. Suncrest, yeah.
You went all the way over to Suncrest today.
Yeah, is there another one?
No.
Well, then I had to go there, right?
Well, but I mean, for you to go over to that side of town, that's kind of, I mean, that's a jaunt for you.
I want to help out my boys.
I know. We appreciate your support, Hoppy. We truly do.
Got one for Ethan, one for Zach, producers today.
Yeah, shout out to those guys for making it in here. All right, ready to do textual healing?
Yep.
We'll get into that. Do that. Textual Healing brought to us by episode800.com. Go to the site and you can take a look at all of our stuff that we have. I ran out of coffee, by the way, this morning.
What?
I got to go to see Rusty after the show. Literally ran out. I was able to make 2, and then when I put my espresso thing in there to get my grind out of it, it went
out of beans.
Out of beans, baby. Sign came up. Out of beans. Go see Rusty.
So told me I would have brought you some.
Yeah.
Got mine going right here.
So we got a game day grind, Mountaineer roasting on the website, plus all of our merchandise and things of that nature. You can check it out right there. Okay, as I said, with textual healing, again, well over 200 texts. There's a general theme. We'll try to get in and delve into the general theme of it. But as you can imagine, there's a lot of unhappy people. There are unhappy people who question our manhood here as to what we're going to say. There are those that use words that begin with F's and end with K's.
Ouch.
And there are body parts also scattered throughout the texts and doing certain things with body parts.
My goodness.
Nice.
I always find
that's nice.
I also find it kind of, it's not funny, but it's funny. So every once in a while,
it's like steam release.
Yeah, it is.
New part. So we need a steam release like we got textual healing. I think we got to have a steam release here.
The ones that I giggle over are the ones that say various things, and so sometimes they'll leave a name or whatever, and I'll just kind of do a little research. And then find them somewhere else, like on social, and then their little bio thing, it'll say like Christian dad. Nice witness, Sparky. All right.
Ask for forgiveness.
So here we go. Some of these, again, we'll get into the so what we'll do, I'll read some of them, and then we'll do the whole general theme thing. Gentlemen, I took a long shower and calmed down before I sent this text. I've always supported Neil Brown, but something is wrong. I can already hear Brad say players need to make plays in defense of Coach Brown. But this keeps happening. We keep losing this way. Something is wrong. We hear the players are underrated nationally and the coaches are great, but Penn State and Pitt happen over and over again year after year. If at this point we lose games with great players, then it has to be bad coaching. If we lose games because we don't have great players, it has to be bad recruiting and coaching. It is year 6, and we can't have it both ways anymore. Scott from Stafford.
When do you want us to weigh in?
Go ahead. Whenever the spirit leads you.
If you have a bunch of the coach things, I can wait. You got a bunch of the coach things?
Yeah, I mean I'll read some and then you can, I'll read some and then you can go like, okay, I got it.
Okay.
On your last episode, you had a text about going to a concert or the Pitt game. No contest Pitt game. When my wife and I were planning our fall wedding on a sternwheeler on the Ohio River, I told her it had to be on an off week for the Mountaineers. So we got married October 12, 1985. I didn't think about the possible anniversaries in the future, though.
I did exactly the same thing.
Yeah. So, yeah, you can get married on an off week. But those anniversaries do happen on a yearly basis.
So my anniversary, I'll be celebrating my anniversary this year, Brad, at the Kansas game.
The schedule didn't accommodate your anniversary and take a week off?
Did not.
You guys have taken Nick the Greek up. Thank you for you should have taken Nick the Greek up on his offer of baklava. It was excellent. He also makes great chicken for the Greek Food Festival there in Clarksburg. And they sent me a picture of them cooking their chicken on their grill. So shout out to there he is. How about that?
Right.
That's a good deal. I don't know if that's Nick the Greek himself or another person who identifies as said. Texter 304 connection. I was on a ferry this morning of the Pitt game between Corsica, France and Sardinia. I spotted Steve from Colorado Springs sporting this nice West Virginia pullover. He has a brother in Charleston, and I live in the Lake Norman area of North Carolina. There's always a West Virginia connection. So These guys are there. Look at that. He was on a ferry between Corsica, France, and Sardinia. And he sees the West Virginia pullover, and they befriended one another. That's kind of neat.
Always.
Yeah.
Always.
Texter, let's keep Bama on the schedule. Pitt is too much of a challenge. Texter, all right, fellas, some of us have been denying the climb for 3 years. You have stood strong. What do you need to see to accept that Neil Brown simply cannot get it done at this level? P1 Jason in Phoenix. I've had enough of Neil Brown. He's incompetent. Goodbye, and goodbye to anyone associated with him. I don't care who replaces him. I don't care if it's an upturned broom with a bucket for a head. Gone. Goodbye. Make all the excuses you want. Incompetent. Gone. Goodbye. Texter. This is Derek in Parkersburg. In-game text. As I watch a pick on the last play, I can't blame this game on the team. They played their hearts out. Although I can blame officiating because we were robbed on that one. Do you feel there was interference in the end zone on Pitt's final drive?
Well, do you want to talk about the officiating? I mean, Brad raises the valid point that officiating is part of the game and should be open to discussion.
It is open to discussion.
And we talked about it a lot yesterday during our broadcast. And I'll just tee you up, Brad. I mean, I felt at the very least that the officiating was inconsistent.
Yeah, and both teams thought that. Pat Narduzzi in his post-game press conference said we beat two teams today. We beat the West Virginia, we beat the officials. If I'm Neil Brown, I would have said partly the same. He said in his post-game, that holding call on Wyatt Lyons just the wrong call. And that was a swing in the game. I know you came back and took the lead, but
it was 14-point swing
Oliver
though,
Straw
because the
fakes
block
the punt, gets the first down. Very next play, then you hit Hudson Clement for what would have been a touchdown. Call the phantom hold on Milam, brings that back. Next play, punt blocked, return for a touchdown. Changes the momentum of the game. That might have been the dagger with that touchdown pass. There were also two holding calls earlier that kept drives alive for Pitt, kept a drive alive. Calls on defensive holding away from the play and away from the ball. Yeah, I'd have a lot of questions on that. I think that's part of it. Again, and you know my stance on that, so now we'll get a million texts crying about officials. Not saying that. You needed to make plays. Been very clear about that. But we, again, as I always say, you can also have a conversation about officials when they blatantly missed some calls. I thought they did.
Tony, let me ask you, because you were obviously called the game. So there were 19 penalties called, 12 on Pitt and 7 on West Virginia. Now, so more penalties were called on Pitt, but West Virginia's penalties came at key times in that game. But it seemed like that the officials were very involved. Usually you see a game like, okay, there's 5 on one team and 6 on another, or 4 and 5. They were very much inserted in this game.
Yeah, they were. I mean, we went from a game last week, there was not one replay review, to a bunch yesterday. And I went back. I wanted to see the Wyatt Milam penalty, and I watched the tape of it this morning, the film of it, the game film of it this morning. And that's about as bad as I've ever seen. And that was a 14-point swing. You take the touchdown there. You're not forced into a situation where you punch. You don't get the pump block. Anyway, long story short, as Brad says, it was really unfortunate. It certainly didn't help. Certainly didn't help. That's a Big 12 crew.
It was.
They didn't have a good game either.
Yeah,
right. You didn't do enough. You didn't make enough plays to make the win. They didn't make enough plays either. The officials just is what it is.
Rusty in Monroe County, this feels worse than the infamous game. That's all I say. God bless. Texter, immediate game reaction. We know more about our team now after 3 games. We don't tackle well. We can't defend the pass. Anybody that's watched our tape that doesn't chuck it deep 30 times a game isn't paying attention. If they aren't complete, it's a pass interference. We make too many mental mistakes. Other than good 4th down calls, we play too conservatively on offense.
You know, maybe we talked about this already, but I guess we did on the next to last series. Like the play call, people can say, well, it's too conservative. And I think we said that at the time. Neil Brown said afterward that you miss a block. I mean, that if you make the block, CJ probably gets 10 yards and gets that first down.
And that's a tough one because you would ideally like to run it. You're averaging 5 yards per carry. You've had success running it. You want to run it right there so that clock keeps running. That's what you were playing against in that point, and you just didn't get off it on the first play of the drive is what he was referring to there, and didn't get the play that you needed.
Texter. I'm trying to be logical about this loss to Pitt, but this loss feels like a theme. We get a lead, get way too conservative with calls on offense, go 3 and out. And the defense, which played well in the second half, absolutely falls apart in the 4th. Feels like a broken record. Neil's play calling late in the game with the lead has to change. We can't play not to lose. With 3 minutes, you have to run more aggressive offense. Something needs to change with the defense too, although I'm not sure what. Bottom line is, although the players failed to make plays, I feel like this loss falls on the coaches, Josh and Mason, West Virginia.
Yeah, I don't, it didn't work. So I realize that opens it up for criticism. But again, you want the clock to run. You come out and throw on first down of that series in a game when you're not throwing it well. Your passing grade in that game was as bad as it's been in 2 years. You didn't have receivers getting wide open. Now, the 4th down plays, the little passes in the flat, those were good. So, okay, if you want to say it. But if you run that play and don't complete the pass and that clock stops, you talk about being open for criticism. You'd be going bananas in that, right? You need to be able to run and move the clock. You'd had success running it. So I get that everybody's losing their mind because it didn't work and you're screaming about conservative because it looked. But if you go the other way and that clock doesn't run, that's more malpractice than it is trying to do what you've done well in that game.
Right.
You weren't throwing it well for the most part. You were running it well. You didn't on that play.
I think too that, and I am not equipped to make judgments about play calling in general, but. The upset fans are right in this respect. I mean, we do say 2 things can be true. And one is that players need to make plays. Okay, I know people get tired of hearing that, but I'm sorry, game in and game out, that's what you have to have. The second thing is it does start and stop with the coaches. I mean, ultimately, they are in charge. Ultimately, they're going to be held responsible for it. They're the ones. So it does fall to them. So both things, Brad, are true.
Yeah, I know we have a hard time when 2 things can be true. That's true. Yeah, agree.
Yeah, the catch-22 in that drive that went 3 plays negative 7 yards, the second to last drive, was So they had 3 timeouts and the 2-minute warning. Okay. So they had the ability to stop the clock. And the first play, West Virginia goes twins, slot receiver, absolutely whiffs on his block.